All right, it's a special car that's just got launched today in the Indian market, and it's been setting records, not just in other parts of the world like the Nürburgring, but right here in our backyard at the BIC. It is the car to have the fastest lap time at the Bodh International Circuit as well. And let's speak about this, and look at that, another AMG that's just launched right there, the Roadster, with Mr. Roland Folger, the MD and CEO at Mercedes-Benz India. Great to see you, Roland, always.
Hi, Sid.
And we meet more often at launches now than anywhere else, and
that's the ideal.
That's a testimony to what you've been doing in the market for the last few months now, keeping us really busy, and also in the AMG context. I mean, your last launch was an AMG, and now we've got another one, taking it to 12. So not really the kind of number we would have imagined a few years ago for AMG in India.
Not at all actually. But that, I think, goes a long way in also confirming our strategy. And it has come to also a little bit of a surprise for us as well, how big and how positive the reaction of Indian customers was. There is always this old saying of, oh, with the roads here and the road conditions and fuel problems and everything else, why would you bring such high performance cars into India? But actually the customers have proven us wrong. There's lots of reasons why you should bring AMG vehicles like this one into India.
This particular one, I mean, just the color is enough to grab your attention, but there's so much more to it, isn't it? 585 horses, 700 Nm of torque. But tell me, when it comes to an AMG car, it's not just about those numbers.
No, not at all. I think what really makes these vehicles stand out is that we combine all of the knowledge, all of the experience that we have gathered in the Formula One driving context, for instance, and we have basically packaged it very, very nicely together with other features to make it really a roadworthy car that you could every day take it to the office with. And I think that is what makes these cars truly outstanding, which is the combination of having both worlds that normally would be separated, but have them now available in one package.
And a little bit about the fact that you chose to also stamp the authority of this car at the BIC. You already had the BIC record anyway. I mean, Mercedes-Benz did. So where did that idea come from?
Well, it was simply to prove that we are always trying to progress. We're always trying to outdo what we've did in the past, because sitting on your laurels and assuming that that would be basically the recipe of success for the future is sometimes going horribly wrong. But not in the case of AMG. And of course, you never know how will your vehicle perform really in a national or international context. So just having that car perform at the Green Hell in Nürburgring, which every sports aficionado knows is one of the toughest tests that you possibly can have, basically to bring that car to India and try this one here as well, I think goes a long way to proving that what we really have here is one of the best performing sports cars that we have ever came up with.
It is definitely, and it certainly has the credentials now to go with that. The car behind you, of course, is the Roadster, and there's been now, I think, a lot of water under that bridge about how convertibles don't work in India. I think now we've been proved wrong on that long ago. What's the kind of feedback you got from your dealers when you first made the announcement that these cars would be coming?
Well, they are as usually speechless. Mind you, we're not talking about big volumes, but what these cars lend themselves to perfectly is to become brand shapers. So by introducing these cars to the dealerships, and of course they're not enough to go around, so what we see a lot is they just borrow the car for a few days and then have a normal event there. And this whole rejuvenation of our brand, or basically bringing younger customers to the brand, is working perfectly, mainly also due to AMG and what we have been able to promote there. So if you look at that in itself, the average age of a customer in India for Mercedes is 37 years. That's coming down from 43 years just about 5-6 years ago. And then at the same time, if you look at the beauties behind me, this helped us bring actually the AMG average age of customers down to 30. Yeah. Okay. So you can imagine what kind of a boost that gives us as well, to say, obviously, we're right in the heart of where these young customers can help us in reshaping the brand to a very, very large extent.
And that's the part which I think surprises a lot of people, to know that you have buyers who are as young as that. I mean, if the average age is 30, that really says a lot. The other cars, I mean, the rub-off that you're talking about, of course, is on the rest of the portfolio. Last time we met, we spoke about how the GLC has really picked up. Of course, the new E-Class. I'm not even going to call it a gamble anymore, the whole long wheelbase. It's really paid off. You're seeing so much traction around that model as well. Talk us through that, just the kind of success you're seeing with those two brands.
Well, as part of our brand in total, the GLC has found its new way, and we were always believing strongly in that car. it was necessary for customers to wrap their arms around it and truly understand that coming from a GLE is not really a downsizing effect, quite the opposite. The car is fantastic to handle, especially in the cities, and customers have caught on to that. Yeah. On the E-Class, what's left to be said, I think the gamble really paid off for us, and it was a gamble because we had also made a decision that there would be no normal wheelbase, and to move fully into the long wheelbase version, I think has connected with customers in a great way. Everybody understands now also what it does for them on a daily routine basis, and the customer that I meet now that have just took possession of their vehicles are coming back and they're simply blown away because they said, it changes my whole working routine. You know, the comfort I have now in that car going to work or coming back is really outdistancing anything that I've ever experienced before, especially in that segment.
Now, there is of course something to be said about how it got even more attractive once GST kicked in. I mean, the E-Class. I know why you smile like that, because of course my question is about the CES.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, not just disappointment, but also there's been a lot of confusion around that. Of course, we still don't have any official announcements yet from the government side, but it's very easy sometimes to misunderstand when it comes from a premium car manufacturer that, we don't want to be taxed higher. But really, from an industry perspective, how does this set us back, you think?
I think there's several setbacks, unfortunately, that we have realized in this, and it's mainly been driven by the fact that we were getting used to a certain consistency in policy making in recent times. And my favorite example was always, there was an announcement that GST would come, and then it came. Although it was maybe 3 months delayed, but it came at the right time as well. And now what we see, and that concerns us in a big way, is there seems to be a tendency to flip-flop again. Meaning that in an industry that is especially borne by long-term investments, when we develop, for instance, our dealer network, or when we build up capacity for this market, these are long-term investments that we want to see coming back to us in the sense of return on sales. Now, if this does not happen because there has been some policies that suddenly go back to square one, or in a worst case scenario would even make our vehicles more expensive than pre-GST, then these things are very, very bad for consistency, for long-term perspective, and also, unfortunately, a little bit for credibility with Germany.
Now, that is the big question everybody has, right? I mean, what does this do to the image of our industry outside of India? It is naturally going to be a setback.
It is a setback in itself, and I don't...
Especially, sorry to cut you off, but especially also because you had a scenario where a lot of manufacturers were passing on GST benefits even prior to the GST rollout.
Yes.
And this is obviously something that you cleared with headquarters as well. So.
Yes, of course. No, we have to do that. But the point from our perspective was that whenever there's disruptions in the marketplace, we need a little bit of time. We have lots of metal lying around and basically being out there at the dealerships or on our side. And we have basically invested because of the local manufacturing side. We have 6-7 months lead times with Germany, or with Japan in case of others, that basically need to be fulfilled, and there is product coming in. So anything that disrupts the business or the automotive sector in such a significant way is naturally extremely bad for business and credibility. Now, how do you turn that around? Nobody knows at the moment. We need to, and this waiting period is a perfect second example for me as well. Now we're sitting around and waiting again and nobody knows what's going to happen. Yeah. Is that good for business? It is not good for any kind of business. So we're imploring also with the government to basically take your time. There is really no need to rush this at the moment. Why not wait 6 months? Maybe with increase in volumes, we would have been able to prove that that level of taxation would provide even more taxation income and higher revenues for the government. What's wrong with that? And that's where we're struggling.
And that's something that we've been saying for years. I know not just the industry, but others as well. The point you made in your previous answer about, if this 10% cess was to be slapped on, prices would actually go up higher than they were pre-GST. Is that pretty much true across the board?
I would say so at the moment. Unfortunately, it might be. So I've heard some comments also made by ministries by saying, well, we should go back to pre-GST standards. That's going to be very, very difficult to calculate, and I don't think that anybody is doing that at the moment. Well, let me put it this way. If they haven't been able to pre-calculate that before the introduction of GST, I'm doubtful whether they can do that now, which is, again, sad in itself.
Oh, very. And of course, that's the other point, right? That when all of this mathematics was being worked out for the different sectors, why was this not considered pre-announcement anyway? But all right, we'll leave that part at that. And of course, I still do, stand on the same side in the sense that we hope that they see the light, as it were, and things are left untouched, especially because we're going into the festive season.
Yeah.
But the cess notwithstanding, the festive season is always important, of course. And this year in particular, given the fact that there's been so much talk about how a lot of pent-up demand is finally coming to market, and there's a sense of almost, I won't call it euphoria, but a lot of excitement for sure. Do you have very bullish expectations from the festive season?
Well, our expectations turn from very bullish to let's see and wait what happens. Frankly speaking, there is no experience that we would have where across India, for instance, prices were raised by 5%. We have never seen that happening.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, where also some of the colleagues' panic mode comes from. Again, what we're struggling with are these disruptive right extreme to left extreme and back again kind of decisions. We have no experience how that will affect customer sentiments. And Indian customers, also in the luxury segment, are quite resistant to these kind of issues. They always bounce back after a while. In this case, I think the expectations were so positive that the bounce back might be rather severe. We have to see. It's too early to say that without knowing exactly what the impact of the taxation is going to be.
All right, and this year you've already done a whole number of launches. In fact, tell us what the tally is so far and how many more to go.
At the moment we have reached 10. Okay.
10 already?
Yeah, 10 already.
And you're not done for the year?
No, not yet.
So there's more excitement coming then.
Hopefully.
And from AMG in particular as well, are we going to continue to see a sort of an onslaught in the sense that pretty much what you do globally is what the Indian consumer will also see?
Yes, of course. I mean, there is no reason for us to change. Quite the opposite. We are just basically already announcing that we will open up 2 more APCs, IMG Performance Center, one in Kochi, one in Chennai, within this month as well. So we are basically believing in the proper strategy and also supporting local customers in Tier 2 cities about the support that they will get on the ground for their AMG vehicles as well.
So I think we can pretty much say to people who are watching that if you're in Kochi or in Chennai, it's a good place to go and take a look at these 2 cars. I'm guessing that they're going to be traveling down south very soon. We leave it at that for now, Roland. I do hope that things sort of smooth themselves out and are positive, even more positive the next time we meet. But thank you. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
And congrats again on the 2 cars behind us.
Thanks a lot, Sid. Take care.
You too. So there you have it. Lots to really talk about when it comes to policy. Unfortunately, not a lot of that is very positive at this stage. Quickly walk you around and show you a little bit more of these 2 cars before I say bye-bye. You, of course, heard just now from the Managing Director and CEO at Mercedes-Benz India speaking about what's happening with this possibility of a cess that's going to be slapped on top of the GST rates that have already been pre-decided. This car is special. It does have the credentials now, as you heard. It's got the engine, it's got the performance in terms of speed, and also all the records, both at the Nürburgring and the BIC. And there you go, that's the special badging that goes with it. Yellow is the little accent that you may have noticed goes with this car, and which is why, of course, you have yellow stitching and a yellow seat belt as well, and a few little bits and pieces finished off in yellow on the inside too. And then on the other side you have the Roadster that's also been launched. Still gives you about 487 horses, so not at all lightweight by any comparison really. And remember, you also have the GT-C, which has been launched globally. We don't get that, but we get this one. The roof goes down in 11 seconds, and the Designo range, which allows you to customize, is available on both these cars. You also have 3 different fabric options for the roof on this car. So you see the black here, you can do tan or beige, I guess, and you can also do red, so depends on what exterior color you go with. Prices 2.19 crore for this one, and starts at 2.23 crore for the beast of the green hell back there. And that pretty much concludes this live session from the launch of 2 new AMG models here in India. Thanks for watching.